Welcome to Practical Talk Time and to our Halloween happenings. I'm Sandy Wrobel, your host for today, and we have a very special program that we hope that you might be having a little Halloween show, not show, but maybe a party and tuning in to us. And at about 5 or 10 minutes after our guest is introduced and we just chat for a bit, we're going to have a live call-in for 203-792-4101, where you can call in and get a message or ask a question. And you know that on TV, it's also, we're seeing commercials for our election time. And not only do we have Halloween, we have the elections. And there's one candidate you may have heard that has said, I am not a witch. And also, I am not a witch. But I'm here to introduce to you Mary Angel, our guest. And here is Mary Angel.
And I am a witch. Shake my hat, Sandy. Yes, I am a witch.
And so, Mary, want to tell the guest again if we can tell you that, is this a joke for the audience that you are a witch, or are you really a witch?
It's not a joke. I've been a practitioner of Wicca for, let's see, just over 41 years. 41 years now. So it's been quite a long time, and I'm serious about it. I made headlines in 1970 with today's witch who drives a white convertible. So when you think about 1970 and things that were going on there, you know, we're a lot open-minded society compared to 1970. And to think about, you know, this girl saying she was a witch and then having that stigma follow me until I went into my profession that I did. And it stuck with me all right, and it's still with me today.
That's very interesting, because a lot of times when people hear about Wiccans or witches, they really become very, very frightened. And there's a lot of misconceptions about it. And even with the elections, I feel we in our country have freedom of religion. And even though it be difficult for the general public, really anybody of any religion should be allowed to run and be elected to office. Now, we had talked earlier at dinner, and I'd like you to just tell the audience a little bit about what religion you were brought up in, and how did you actually become a Wiccan?
Okay, well, actually, and I won't go into the whole story behind it, but I was actually baptized in a religion, and again, it's a long story, but it was in the Armenian faith, and but of course it was Christian. And then when I was probably about 8.5 or 9 years old, because my maternal grandmother was living with me, and she was a very devout French Catholic, I decided that I wanted to be a Catholic, and I went, you know, took all the things and got baptized and made my first Holy Communion and made my confirmation. In fact, I took the name of Francis with, you know, the ES for the female, because I love St. Francis of Assisi because of the animals. And then it's not that I didn't believe in Jesus Christ or anything, but there were certain things. And I just started doing things, writing a book of shadows. I had no training in this, or I just started doing things. I've been intuitive as a child, which I thought everybody, I didn't know that it was different. And based on a whole lot of things, at 14, my mother sat me down and she told me that her grandmother, who came from England, was a practicing witch. She feared it. My mother feared it because she went to French Catholic school all day, would come home because her parents worked, and there was her grandmother doing things that she didn't understand, so it was just so different. And my mother just gave me more or less free rein to make, and I respect her for that, because this is what I knew was my religion, and I wanted to continue practicing. So I've been practicing ever since, and did leave the Catholic Church. And I respect everyone's religion, and I respect the Catholic Church. And I mean, but it's my religion. It's one of the oldest religions out there. And it's also a religion that is actually getting more and more followers, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. I just did a class the other night, Trends for 2011, for astrology. And one of the things, interestingly enough, they're predicting is that we are going to become more tolerant in this country for various religions. Seems hard to believe right now, but we are really a vast mixture. And I'd like to tell the audience about another thing. Mary and Angel is retired, and before I even have her speak, look at Mary Angel. You've been watching her, listening to her. In your own mind now, take a guess and say to yourself, outside of being a medium and an intuitive, what type of profession do you think Mary Angel was in besides being a medium and an intuitive and a healer? And then I'm going to ask Mary in a minute to tell us about what is the profession from which she is retired. And then after she does that, we'll be stopping our little dialogue because Mary can probably speak for a whole week nonstop, and we do want you to call in. So in a few minutes, about 2 minutes, we're going to open up the lines for our audience. So, Mary, tell us now, what was your profession, your career?
I was a police officer who made the rank of detective and then detective sergeant. So I was a cop. A real cop, not, and a cop that predicted homicides and everything, but I wasn't a police psychic. I was a real police officer, detective and sergeant, who was intuitive, and I did predict homicides, and it was something that, though I was a cop and I was very passionate about my profession. I had a degree in criminal justice from a Catholic college, so, and but this is something I always wanted to be, was a cop, and I went into law enforcement, and like I said, the Wicca was definitely always behind me, so people always knew about it.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to speak a little bit later about that. I just would like to tell the people, call in. I have never had a reading with Mary Angel. I met her several times. She tells me that she's wonderful in giving messages, so call in at 203-792-4101 to get a message or to ask Mary Angel a question. If we're talking, don't worry, keep calling in because we have to talk and give you a chance to call in. When you call, we will answer. And let's see, we can go on. I hope some people are having a Halloween party and watching tonight. I thought it'd be a nice little gathering where they could call in. And maybe you'd like to even tell people, were you in a patrol car? Or what were you in when you were a police officer?
I actually started off in a radio car, and I will never forget when I was in a solo car, and it was car Red 42, and I was a Bridgeport police officer, so I was in a crazy city that really rocked and rolled.
And it still is.
It still is. But at least they're better staffed than they were when I was on. And so I was in a radio car. I worked in communication. I made detective, and from 1990 and 93, I worked the Detective Bureau when Bridgeport was averaging 60 homicides a year. So that was a lot of homicides, 60 plus homicides a year. And what really was amazing is that at the end of the month or the beginning of the month, I would take a calendar, and I referred to it as, of all things, my Hami calendar. But I would actually check off when I felt we were going to have homicides. Some of it did have to do with lunar phases, because I know you're so into astrology. So I would mark off the calendar, and I averaged about 45 homicides a year that I would get. We were averaging 60. I would only come up with about 45. But out of those 45, 46 in any of those given 3 years, and that was per year, I would be on the money for every single one of them.
I can understand that. What would you say that it's kind of difficult, though, when you think there's going to be a homicide? Did you ever feel that, gee, I wish I knew exactly where or when or could change it so that it could be prevented, or do you think that some things are destined?
Okay, well, you asked a couple of questions, and I'll try to answer them one by one. First of all, I did actually on many occasions feel that a homicide was going to occur at a specific time. I actually told an officer one day, around this time you're going to call, you're going to be the first one on the scene. So I had done that many times, and many times I would be in a radio car and we would get a report of a shooting, and it was, let's say it was in my district or area, and I would be going 10:10, which means on the scene, and they'd say, how'd you get there so fast? I mean, I would just start normally heading in that direction. So that's one thing. As far as destiny, I believe that this is my own percentage rate, between 75 and 80% of things that are going to happen in our lives, okay, are changeable, that we can follow a path and we can change it. I believe 20% is destiny, and no matter which road you take, I don't care which road it is, the result is going to be the same. So 20% are things that are fate and they're going to happen no matter what, and I'd say the other 75, 80%, you do have control of it and you can make changes and prevent things. And in those cases where you can't, sometimes you can lessen the blow of the event that's going to take place.
Did you actually have cases where you were able to prevent a murder?
No, and I think partially, in fact, one of the reasons was with that, and I'm going to use an example with the Challenger. I was new in the department, and I was actually dating a police officer, and I was at his house one night, and I happened to be walking through, and I saw one of the members of the space crew, in fact, a girl, she's a school teacher from Massachusetts, and I saw her, and I said to my boyfriend, I got to get in touch with NASA. The ship's going to blow. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I just seen it. The ship's going to blow. And he said, you can't do that. You're crazy. And I was new in the department. I said, I got to do something. So a lot of times when you're able to see things, and I've seen a lot of things, I've told people and warned them, plane crashes, but a lot of people think, and what are you going to do with NASA? You know something's going to blow, and you don't know how to, what to do with it. And I didn't call him the next day when the Challenger did go up. My boyfriend called me up, and it was the only time he ever was in tears and I said, so now you see what it is. You have this thing they call a gift, but most often than that, it's more like a curse.
Mm-hmm. And there's also, I would think, also the fear that if I know something and I call, maybe they would think I had something to do with it or I'm behind it. I think you could also become perhaps maybe the one that would be accused or they'd be investigating.
Well, when I was a police officer, like I said, I'm glad that when I had my calendar marked, I'm glad that I was working many of those homicides because, yeah, you would start to think that, maybe they think you're doing this as a result to try to, put your numbers and say, oh, look, I'm able to predict these homicides, but no, I was working and, I'm glad that, but, it would be something where if you started doing this, people might take a look at you to think that, oh, are you responsible for these, because, there are people that do things to gain that notoriety and stuff like that, but no, this was the real deal. This was no fooling around. This was the real thing.
And I'd like to remind our viewers to please call in at 203-746, no, wrong number. I'm sorry, 203-792-4101, and Mary Angel will be very happy to give you a message or to answer a question for you. And speaking about that, how often do you go around giving people messages, or do you get feelings or intuitive thoughts in your mind when, let's say, you're out in public? Do you actually tune into people, or does it just happen randomly?
No,
Are
it
you
happens.
able to zero in on people?
It happens a lot, and one of the hardest things for me to do, because I've got Gemini ascendant, so I like to talk, and a lot of times, though, it's more than just wanting to talk. It's you see somebody, and and then it's like, well, I'm not trying to eavesdrop, but I'm getting something from this person. I'm not trying to, it's just coming, and what am I going to do with it? And if you go, oh, excuse me, my name is Mary Angel, and I'm an intuitive, and they're going to look at you like, huh? I have been received about, I would say, 50-50. Many people were startled at first, but once you start telling them something that they know that's going on in their life, that nobody knows, and certainly not a stranger. So that's the thing. I think you kind of like to have to give them a shock. If you want them to really believe in you, you have to tell them, even if it's not about the message you're going to give to them, sometimes you have to shock them. And you have to tell them something, and that shock will say, oh yeah, there's no way she could possibly. So now they're gonna look at you and you're gonna catch their attention because it's like, oh, how did she know that? Especially if it's only something that that person alone knows and nobody else knows. Sometimes they refer to it, almost like dropping a bomb. You have to shock them, and then they'll listen to you. And of course, then there are some people that, ha ha ha, and then when the stuff happens, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I should have believed you, and whatever. But sometimes it's just getting overwhelmed where you feel you have to tell them. And in that case, I say, I'm going to put it out there. At least I can go to sleep and say, I tried to warn the person, and they're going to take with it. They're going to do whatever they're going to do with it.
And I imagine even tonight, there are probably some people who might be at home, and they might be very fearful about, oh, if I call in, I might be afraid of what I'm told, or maybe they might be afraid of, oh, she's a witch, I don't want to ask her anything.
Well, I've had people from all walks of life, okay, and all religions, shockingly enough, that have contacted me and have asked me things, and I think being in the community and everything, people.
Oh, we have a
we have a
call.
caller. Yeah, I thought I heard
Okay.
the phone ringing.
Welcome to Practical Talk Time. And would you like a message or have a question for Mary Angel?
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
We've lived here since 1970, and we're retired, and we're thinking of selling our house and moving to Florida. We wonder if it's the right move, and if we'll be happy in Florida if we do this.
Okay, the first thing that I'm picking up, Florida is a nice place, but I'm also feeling that there's going to be a lot of environmental factors that are going to be hitting Florida. And, we're getting weird weather across the country, okay? It's all over the place. We're seeing weather like conditions that we've never experienced before in a lot of places. And I really don't think moving south might be a good idea, but I'm not getting anything really strong, really about Florida. I'm not really picking up anything strong about Florida. So I'm not saying you should stay here, but I wouldn't go to Florida. I just don't feel that. It's a nice place. I'm not saying anything bad about Florida, but what happens too, and Sandy can explain this too, is that, and I'm talking from a psychic viewpoint, and then of course there's the astrological viewpoint, but when we move locations, they do what they call a relocation chart, and sometimes everything can be very harmonious in your relationship and your health, and then you relocate, and that can change the energy, and a lot of things can happen. So I'm not thinking that Florida necessarily would be a very good move for you.
So we should probably stay put, is what I'm hearing?
No, I didn't say that you need to stay in Connecticut, but I would definitely not do Florida, because I think that if you do go there, I think you're going to lose property. There's something to do with money and property, that would take a real big hit if you move to Florida. And it doesn't mean that, oh, well, I'm going to, have a house there, and that means something's going to happen to the house. It's also financial. Something will cause a drain in finances, and I think you need to be guarded with that. And again, you don't have to stay in Connecticut, but just Florida isn't hitting me right.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Do you have any idea where a good place would be for him?
Actually, I was thinking Virginia and North Carolina were the first two places that came to my mind.
Have you had any thoughts about going to Virginia or to North Carolina?
Well, we have a motorhome, and we've been spending the winter down in Florida for the past several years, and we've gotten to where we like it very much, and we're thinking that maybe we ought to relocate there, since we are retired and can live anywhere we want to live, and we don't need the house and property we have here. It's time to step back a little bit, and it's a lot cheaper to live down there than here, and we won't have to suffer the winter. Of course, this has been home for a long time, and we hate to leave home and our friends and everything, so we're in a quandary, and we just thought we'd give you a try and see what you said.
Do you think maybe they should try using their motorhome for a year before they actually sell their property here, or?
Well, again, there's nothing wrong with Florida, but I'm just saying I am considering a loss, and again, something could, I'm not going to say it's going to happen, because again, we talk about things that could happen and whatever. If they want to move to Florida, but I wouldn't say that it was someplace they could stay in. With a motorhome, you do have that flexibility, that if you just started feeling things weren't right, you could go somewhere else. And again, I'm not saying you should stay here in Connecticut, but I think some other states might be your better option for you and your wife.
Okay, well, thank you for giving us your time and your skill.
Thank you very much, and have a nice evening.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, and if anybody else watching has questions, please do call in, or if you just want Mary to give you a general message of whatever she's picking up intuitively for you.
Now, see, with him, like I said, I'm not the astrologer, and I love astrology, but my first thing was some type of a loss there. And again, from an astrologer's point of view, you know that when we relocate, it's good to have two separate charts, of the husband or the wife or the people involved, because things do change. I think we have another
Yes,
phone
we
call.
have another call, I believe. Hello?
Yep.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering, will I ever find true love? Just a question.
Okay, well, that's going to be something that you're asking me if you're going to find true love, and you're going to be able to answer that. And I'm going to tell you how you're going to be able to answer that. You're a very nice lady, and you have a good heart, but you've given and given and given, and sadly, I don't think you've laid down the barriers strong enough in your relationships with men, and you've been hurt, you've been taken advantage of, okay? And, you want to know if you'll find real love. Well, you have to take all those things that you've done in the past and take a look at it and analyze it. And you're going to find out having a good heart, being warm and loving is important. But you also, sometimes and it's not an egotistical thing, but we do have to put ourselves first. And we have to see, what do we want? What do we need? Yes, it's important, if you're in a relationship, to love the other person and give that unconditional love to them. But also, you need certain things too. And that's where you have failed in the past, because you were too busy giving, and then it's like, well, gee, I got the short end of the stick. What happened here? So I think if you go back and you think and then say, hey, wait a second, I'm ready for another relationship, but you have to do a couple of things. You have to be willing to let go of that, because you are carrying that hurt in your solar plexus, and it also has blocked your chakras. So you need to release and get rid of that, okay? So that's a part of a healing on a physical plane, and you also need the spiritual plane, and to also say, hey, look, okay, I'm going to be good in the next relationship. I want someone, and you have to send that image out of, wanting someone, and be descriptive, what you're looking, do you want someone that's a hard worker? Do you want somebody who's going to give you love? Because when you ask the universe and when you put that energy out, you have to be specific, okay? And if you're not specific, you might get some of what you want, but you're going to have a whole bunch of other stuff. So, yes, you can find someone, okay? And if you do your homework and you take care of that healing and everything, within a year, you will find not only somebody, okay, that you will have a loving relationship, but you will find your soulmate.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any other questions for Mary?
No, that was great. I'm going to try to. I think I understand that you say not to be so giving. I'm kind of.
Well, it's important to be giving, but you do have to think of yourself first. And I've talked about this so many times, because, we have to love ourselves, and we have to know what's important for us. And yes, we have to be giving. But, so many times women, they'll be in a relationship and they give everything. they're not nurturing themselves or not, and the other person says, well, look at this, and they get overwhelmed with all this love and affection and attention, and sometimes they step out and they're not even realizing that they are not being complete for you. And you have, two of those guys were really losers that you picked, okay? I hate to say it, but they were really losers, okay? And, you know, but you're so kind-hearted, okay? And one of those guys I know is going to be very difficult because you really loved him a lot, okay? And it was a very deep relationship, and there were other things involved there which I'm not going to go on right now and talk about. So, but you have to let that go. You have to be willing to just clear that off. It's not going to be easy. You have to do that healing because I told you your solar plexus, you know, is blocked. And then you're going to have this aura about you. When men see you, they're going to go, wow. But you're going to attract that one person who's going to need your energy. And you're going to complement each other rather than being at the short end of the stick.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was very interesting.
Well, there's so many things in relationships, and, you know, I always say that, and I actually once did a show on the ego, and of course I'm always telling people, you know, about being compassionate and nurturing and giving. Mm-hmm. But if you can't be that for yourself, you have to have that to survive.
You can't be a doormat, in other words.
Right,
There
you
has to
can't
be
be a
give and take.
doormat, right, and you really need that balance, and it's never going to be 50-50. No relationship is ever 50-50, but it is good to have it balanced, okay? And we have
Yes.
another phone call, I think. I thought I saw, maybe?
I
Or
don't,
maybe
I
that's
don't
calling
see
from.
yes, it is.
No.
Well, welcome to Practical Talk Time.
Yes,
A question for Mary Angel.
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Hi, I've had a very bad year, a lot of bad luck. And
Can I just stop you?
I'm wondering if things are going to
Okay.
turn around.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say you're talking about a lot of that your voice, okay?
I'm sorry?
Your voice is even carrying that, okay? Yes, you have had some bad times, and I tell it like it is, so please don't be offended. You've got a lot of anger, and I'm not saying it's wrong, don't get me wrong, but you have a lot of anger in you right now, okay? And I am concerned, okay, because your anger is in your voice. I can hear it very clear and very strong. And I'm not saying it's not justified because you've gone through a lot of crap, okay? But this isn't the first time, it's just that you've gone through a lot of crap, but this is one of the biggies in your life, okay, that you've gone through. And, you know, your patience is like probably at a 2 or 3%, okay? You're starting to act out, okay, a little bit, because you're just tired of it and you're overwhelmed with it, okay? And the first thing that I have to say to you is that when we do sometimes go through some very difficult times, this is going to be the hardest thing for you, okay, you're going to have to step aside, you're going to need some meditation, okay? And you have to clear a lot of this negativity around you because what's happening is it's in your whole body and your chakra and everything. And this negativity gets negative. And it's going to start making you sick. In fact, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if your eating patterns are all out of control right now, and probably you're sleeping. You're sleeping everything because it's starting to consume you too much. The bad stuff that happened, well, you know, you've had a small part in it, not the whole thing. So you've got to do some serious life changes in a lot of different arenas, okay? You have to start letting go of some of that anger. And that's the toughest thing to do because, you know, when we're hurt and we've been kicked around and we've had some bad times, we're not going to be happy campers. We're going to be upset, okay? So that's kind of tough to say, oh, I'm supposed to sit back and say, oh, yeah, okay, fine, you know, keep on. No, you're not supposed to do that. But you have to release that anger because that anger is going to affect you physically, okay? And it's going to create more negativity in your life. So we want that to stop right now, okay? And then we want to kind of like go in reverse and start slowly because, see, with this negativity, despite things that happen to you that are out of your hands, the things that just this crap that falls on you, okay? It's going to keep on falling on you because negative's going to attack the negative. So you're going to have to clean up some of this anger that you're feeling, and it is hard because you are going through a lot of crap, okay? But that's the thing, you know, you're going to have to reach in. You've got to have faith. You've got to have faith in yourself, and you've got to have faith in what your religion is and to believe. And don't be afraid to ask for that guidance from whatever faith that you believe in. And don't turn away and say, well, you know, I do this and I do that, so this shouldn't be happening to me, okay? Again, you have a lot of anger, and I keep on hearing it and hearing it and hearing it. You are a good person. Let that good person come in, do some meditation, and exercise, okay? Take walks. Burn off a lot of that stuff that you've got inside and start thinking positive. Even if you have a bad day, you know what? The worst day you can have, guess what? You're alive. You're not in a hospital. You're not crippled. You're able to talk. You're able to move around. So you might be having a lot of bad crap, but you are alive and you are able, because there are people that are in very bad shape in a different level, okay? So start exercising, okay? Start trying to think less negativity, and every day meditate, you know, a couple of minutes a day. And it's going to be hard, but the more you get into it, the more you get in taking these walks and try to think white light and get rid of that negativity. And you're going to start seeing, and again, you know, if you are having problems working things out, you either see some counselor, you know, for what's going on, or you need to, you know, speak to, let's say, another intuitive or something like that. But you've got to take charge, because if you sit there and you keep on dwelling on it, it's only going to get worse.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, thank you for calling.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You know, sometimes when you're doing readings on the phone, and I've had so much experience with it, there's just so much. And, you know, when these people call in, there are certain things I really do not want to get into, you know.
On the air.
Yeah,
Yes,
on the
in
air,
public,
you know,
yes.
in public. But like as I say, she's a good person, and she is being whacked in many arenas, okay?
Okay, and we have another call, I
Right.
believe. Okay, welcome to Practical Talk Time. Do you have a question for Mary Angel? Can you speak up a little louder, please?
Yeah, my son is 35 years old, and he's been at this job now for 10 years. His boss is going to let him go, but my son has put out resumes because he really hates working there now. And I was just wondering, will he find a job real soon?
Okay, well, one of the things is, I know you mentioned he put out resumes. And of course, we know what the economy is. He's 35 years old, I think I heard you say, and he's been
Yeah.
with this company for 10 years. It's a very difficult time. However, okay, I think your son is very, very talented.
Yes.
I think he might have to broaden his resume and kind of do two things. Look in a wider arena as far as location, and really change his resume to include, I mean, I know he's been in this job for 10 years and he's done some things, but I would broaden it and make it a lot bigger, because he has a lot of other talents that I think he might not be including in his resume. And
Okay.
someone says, oh, well, that wouldn't get anything. Well, guess what? That thing that you might think wouldn't get anywhere might be the thing that opens the door and gets him into a very good job. Either close to, you know, maybe not more than he was making, but very close to, and if it's not exact, it wouldn't be much less. And the thing is, too, that, you know, he's got some other things going on in his life, too, so he has to be a little more positive, too, because I think, you know, I mean, he's hurt, you know, and he's justified in being hurt. And you know, you're a mom, you're a loving mom. That's why you're calling in, because you're concerned about your son. And you're going to give him that support. And as I say, you know, you're very caring. And with your positive energy, and if he just does those few changes, I'm sure within, you know, 4 to 5 months, he will have another job.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And thank you for calling in. We have another call. Hello? Oh,
All the time.
okay, I think maybe I have to press line 2. Hello?
Hello, is this the cable show?
Yes, it is. Welcome to Practical Talk Time. Do you have a
The
question
is,
or?
what's the best field for financial progress in the future?
For your
For me
financial,
personally.
for your financial progress, or just in general? Hello?
Yes.
For your financial progress?
Yeah. What's the most lucrative work to do in the future?
Well, I know computers and techno are, you know, kind of hot, but I would definitely, and I think this field is expanding, is solar and alternative energy. That's going to become a very, very hot item. And if you've got talent, I would definitely start seeking out alternative fields like that as far as for, you know, energy sources, because it is going to start rocking and rolling in the future, and very near future.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that make sense to you?
Just a
Okay.
lot of,
That's interesting because that was one of the predictions made the other night
Really?
in class, yes, for 2011, the beginning, that more and more will be the soul. Astrologically, they're seeing that come in as well.
well, I didn't know it from an
Yeah,
astrological
but for
point,
him
but
personally,
is
yes.
that phone ringing again? It's like, I
No.
thought it was. Oh, okay.
Oh, yes, it is. You're right.
That's 2 for 2. Third time I get the hat trick.
Well, I'm sorry. Look. Welcome to Practical Talk Time.
Yes, hi. I was just curious on, most people have the misconceptions of what Wicca is about. Could she explain about what good Wicca and bad Wicca is, or more about what would be, good for that aspect of it?
Okay, well, first let me explain something. There is no such thing as good Wicca, bad Wicca. Wicca is good. However, when you have people that claim to be witches, okay, and a lot of people think it's vogue or chic to be Wicca. No, that's not why I got involved in the religion, okay? I got involved in the religion because I believe in it and worshiping the god and the goddess, okay? It's when people go out there and they claim to be witches and they start doing satanic stuff and people confuse the two, or they claim to be witches and they're just doing bad stuff, okay? That's what gives Wicca, the bad name, okay? So if you're practicing Wicca, one of the things that we're taught is to harm none. We're not supposed to harm none. Now, I happen to believe in reincarnation, and I can tell you, after being involved in my faith for 40 years, being an intuitive, dealing with past lives, I can say something. I do believe in karma. And what you do to people, this you'll get it back threefold, good or bad. So if you do something good, you will be rewarded at some given time. But if you do something bad, you're going to get it too. And that threefold, that's a bunch of BS. It could be 300 times, okay? So we're not supposed to harm anyone, okay? And for people that are going around, and a lot of people think, oh, I do this, I do that, they give Wicca a bad name. And you have to remember, okay, if you're familiar with what went on in Salem, if you were a woman and you had red hair, if you were a very sensual, seductive woman, or a child, you were deemed witches, and they would dump you in the water, and if you came back up, you were a witch, and if you drowned, you weren't a witch. Well, too bad, you're drowned, okay? And, terrible things happen to a lot of innocent people, and it's really, really sad. And if you were into holistic medicine then, if you used herbs and things like that, that made you automatically a witch. So, we have to look into our history and see how bad so many innocent people were, in the name of, doing the right thing, were persecuted for witchcraft. Here in Connecticut, I know someone that's here tonight lives in Newtown, and in the center of Newtown by the flagpole, they hung witches there. Stratford, Connecticut used to hang, they were like all over the place, burning witches. And my great-grandmother, who came over from England, was also burned at the stake for witchcraft. And witchcraft was taken off the books as a crime punishable by death in 1951. And I was born in 1951, so blessed be. So, hopefully that may have answered some of your thoughts about it and questions.
Yes, it has. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for calling. Okay, if anybody else would like to call in too, the number's on the screen, 203-792-4101. And also Practical Talk Time. If you'd like to email us, it's practicaltalktime@yahoo.com. If you want to make any comments about programs that we've had on, not only tonight, but previous ones or ones to come up, it is a variety show. And if you would like to appear perhaps on our show or have suggestions for other people, we welcome the input. And you can contact us again. It's practicaltalktime@yahoo.com. And would you like to tell the audience, Mary, about any special, this is the time of the year they say Halloween is when the veil between the spirit world and the world that we're in, the material world, that the veil separating us is the weakest, or the
Well, yeah, it's
more,
the
more
thinnest,
open.
right. It's
Could you
more
tell us
open.
more about that?
Well, I kind of look at it because, I believe also in time travel, and, I've done a lot of research into portals. And, of course, that's something different. I know it's not the same thing, but, for reasons being, it seems that on October 31st, All Hallows Eve, that there does seem to be, and it's interesting because it is the night before All Saints' Day, but it is a time where spirits seem to be able to roam more freely, and people can communicate. But it's also a time that you have to respect the dead and give honor and homage to them. It's not a time to be messing around with spirits, and especially those spirits that are already kind of active, that don't have to wait till All Hallows Eve, and there's a lot of that. And I think one of the things that I found so interesting as a police officer, and you were asking about preventing homicides before. I guess we're getting another call.
We want to take it right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to Practical Talk Time. Do you have a question?
I want to know if there's anybody on the other side trying to connect with me, and if so, who, and what is the message?
Okay, actually there is a woman that's trying to connect with you, and she had a lot of children, and for some reason, and of course she is a relative of yours, and the thing is that she's concerned about, I want to say, some things that you're holding inside of you, some confusion. It's like you're looking for a really open door about some things. You're a very intelligent woman. You're a very gifted woman. You have your own abilities. But there is something holding you back. And I think she's also concerned perhaps about your husband, something with his illness. So she's got a lot of messages for you. Okay, and to go through them all here, would take quite a lot of time. But the thing is, you can embrace her, and maybe start meditating. Light a purple candle for her and a white candle. The white candle would serve as protection. The purple candle is to make it an easier time for her to communicate, because spirits do like the color purple. And it does provide a spiritual connection with them. And again, the white will protect you. And I'm not saying that she would harm you, but you still need to be in that white light, because a lot of times when some spirit may be trying to come through to connect with you, to give you a special message. What happens is you might attract something else along the way. So the white candle will keep and protect anything that she will be giving to you, so you'll know it will be pure and directly from her. And also, the purple will make it easier for her. But, you're, again, a very loving, caring person. But there are some things, and there are going to be some changes. And she just worries about you. And she's, concerned about your husband's health. She's concerned about your health as well. Not that there's anything really serious, but, when we talk about nipping things in the bud. And so that's what she's trying to do. She's trying to communicate and prevent things from starting to expand, and also to help you so that you can open your third eye more.
Do you have any further?
Oh, thank you. Thank
You're-
you so much.
Do you have
You're
any
welcome.
further questions for Mary Angel?
No, I was trying to find out who it is.
Well, it is a relative, and it is a woman, and she's got very, very dark, beautiful eyes, and very long hair. Very long hair.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling. Oh, another call. Okay. Welcome to Practical Talk Time. Okay, I'm sorry. I think I just disconnected the phone accidentally.
I used to do that.
If you just called, please call in again and we will pick it up. Very sorry that happened.
It happens.
Yes, I
This is
thought I
all
had to
these
press the
buttons.
line,
Yeah,
yes.
I know what you're
The
talking
last
about.
time when I didn't do it, I had to do it. Here it is. Okay,
get it
we'll
back.
try it again. Welcome to Practical Talk Time. Okay. Welcome to Practical Talk Time. No. Try again, please.
Do you have to press where the green light comes? Do you have to press that first, or you just press
I was
that?
told just to press the green
Oh.
button, but remember before, it didn't pick up unless I did line
Right.
2.
I did too.
They used to have an easier phone, but now this was pretty good until this point. Again, please call again. We will endeavor to get your message or give you a message. Okay, here it is, I think.
No, that's a red light.
No, red light, not a green light.
Red
Okay.
light. Red light is stop, green is go.
Okay, please call back. I'm sorry.
But what I was saying before is that I would go to a homicide scene, and of course, as a detective, I wouldn't be the first one there. And
Okay, they're
there we
back
go.
again. Okay, we're going to try again. Welcome to Practical Talk Time.
Hello.
Hello. Okay, good. We connected. Do you have a question, or do you just want a message from
I
Mary
would
Angel?
like to ask a question.
Okay, go right
Mary
ahead.
Angel, about my son.
Okay.
I'd like to ask you, he's trying to change careers. He's 46, coming out of construction in New York, and trying to use his degree that he has in psychology and teaching and relocate closer to his home. Of course, the issue is the big financial drop he'll have to take to do it.
Right.
You think he'll accomplish it?
Now, okay, he's from New York, and is he coming here to Connecticut? I'm a little...
He lives in Connecticut. He's trying to get out of Manhattan.
Okay, well, Manhattan is a tough place, and I know there's a lot of things, and we know it's going all over the place, but one of the things, the first thing that I thought of when you were talking about him relocating with his job, and there were two places that I thought of. One of them was actually East Hartford, Connecticut came to me, and the other one that came to me was Enfield, and also in the Springfield, Massachusetts. Now, that's a little bit off from Manhattan, but for some reason, when you talked about him, and I just got this feeling, for some reason, this is where the connection that I got right away was East Hartford, Enfield, and the Springfield area, Massachusetts. Of course, Enfield and Springfield are like right on the borderline. But I think that, as a teacher, he'd be very, very good. But again, too, he's got a few other things, too, that he has to tone down. And even though I know his main thing is his job, his employment, he does have to, stop worrying about some other things and putting more focus, all right, into what he's doing, because I think as much as he's concerned about his job and getting all that straight, he is being sidetracked a little bit, okay? So he's got focus, but there's a little sidetrack, and if he's going to get ahead, he really has to focus a little bit more.
But he will change employment, correct?
Yeah, as I say, you know, it's like, it's a very tough time, and you have to use this positive energy that I talk about so much, okay? And, you know, I think sometimes, you know, let's face it, it's a tough time, we're trying, and sometimes we do feel bad, and we kind of like just start falling into a slump. It's so easy to do that. It's so easy for me to say we do that, and it's like, well, how do we get out of it? And it's, you know, doing a creative visualization. It's saying and writing and be determined, you know, having like a mantra that you say every day, you know, I'm going to put this resume out and everything. Now I've told you East Hartford, I've told you Enfield, that's you know, that's not around here, but I can tell you that those...
It's feasible, though. It's very feasible.
It's very feasible. The cost of living isn't, you know, as expensive as it is in this part of the state, and doesn't mean he has to stay there forever. It just means that it will give him his confidence. He'll be getting a paycheck, okay? And I think if he does this, there'll be more broad spectrum things out there that he will experience, and it will make him a much happier man.
Very good.
Which will make you happier, too.
I thank you. Can I ask you a side question now?
Sure.
Different question. I constantly get, for years, it was a feather as a sign from the other side, or I would get dimes, and right at a crucial time. I mean, it was like the other side was reassuring me. I always had felt good and got power out of it. Like, oh my God, they're watching me and they're being good to me.
That's right.
Am I, you know, a little off track, or am I seeing?
No. People that find money like that, it's definitely a sign. And I had to chuckle when you mentioned feathers. I have feathers all over my house because I have a house full of birds. I have cockatoos and white feathers.
I'm a bird watcher. Go ahead.
Okay, so, and birds come to you, okay? You'll find different types of birds, and I actually did a show once on all different birds when they start coming around to you out of the blue. There's always a meaning. There's meaning for certain flowers. There's meaning for birds. If a feather just comes out, you know, it's like when you go out and, oh, you know, there's it doesn't matter what type of a bird it is. That is a symbol from the other side that something good is going to come. And then you want to find out what, you know, is it a pigeon feather? Is it a robin feather? Is it a cardinal feather? Okay, because then that will give you a more concrete explanation of what that other side is trying to tell you. Even though something's good going to come of it, it's going to be even more clearer for you. So you need somebody to explain it to you, or you could, you know, start looking things up. But
well, the immediate thing that happens when this occurs is that I stop, but dead in my tracks. I go, okay, catch your breath. I'm being helped.
Right, and you know what? But pick up that and pick up that feather, or pick up. The only thing is, if the coin is face down, even if it's there and you see it, do not pick it up.
My mother always believed
Do
in that.
not pick up the coin. Let the coin sit there. If you want to look around and find all the ones with the face up, pick them up. It's still a good sign, but do not pick up the ones that are face down.
I was always taught that too.
Yep. Do not pick
my
up.
goodness. Yeah, I never allowed that to bother. I'm not superstitious. And but I will tell you though, I'm a good card reader.
Well, I've been reading.
Anyway, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you for calling in. We have only a few minutes left in the show, and we've had quite a few phone calls. After the show, we have some refreshments for the crew, and we have to clean up. Another show will come on Channel 23, but if we leave the phone on for about 15 minutes, would you like to air some more? Okay, so for our viewing audience, if you have questions and haven't called in yet, even when the show ends, Mary Angel will be very happy to take some calls from you for about 15 minutes after the show, which would be roughly 9:15, because we do have to clean up the studio, and we have 3 minutes left. So you can still call in, And even if you're on the line, we can have you call back if we have to sign off to end the show. But we will take calls another 15 minutes after the show, and you just won't be on air on live TV. The show will be over, but you can still call in, and Angel's very graciously agreed to take some more calls because we've had a lot, and we have 1 minute left. So this is my second time hosting a show. I did one about 2 years ago on Halloween with Elaine Kuzmeskis, whom you know from the Astrological
Elaine,
Society. We'd love to have you back on again.
Oh, I love doing this. Are you kidding? This
Yes,
is my
and Mary
passion.
had her own show, but we do have to, we have 30 seconds, so I want to thank all of our guests for calling in, and for all of you who are watching at home. Maybe some of you didn't want to be on the air, but do call in afterwards if you want to. We will be here another 15 minutes. And Practical Talk Time. Oh, we have 1.5 minutes. Okay, there was a mistake. Okay. Anyway, let me just continue briefly. The show is going to re-air on, what's today? Today's Wednesday. It's going to re-air on Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30. And so if you missed, you want to see it again, it will just be a replay. It won't be a live show, but you can do that. And Practical Talk Time does air on Tuesday nights from 9:30 until 10 o'clock. And so do watch. We have a variety of programs that are on. And we do want visitors to watch us on TV. And again, Practical Talk Time at yahoo.com if you'd like to email us. You can still call in. We have another minute to go. And Mary's here. Maybe now you'd like to just say briefly about what you do with healing, because I know not only intuition, but healing.
I've been doing energy work for over 40 years, and I've been doing Reiki for 16, so I already had a lot of experience under my belt, and I have done some miraculous things that doctors cannot explain. They just look and say, I can't explain it. So it seems to work for, a lot of people. I've been doing it, again, for over 40 years, and it's my passion.
And perhaps we can have you on another time talking about healing or other subjects. And we're very grateful to everyone who has been watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. And keep tuning in to Practical Talk Time. We're sure you will enjoy what we have to offer. And if you have other suggestions, email us at practicaltalktime@yahoo.com. And we will continue taking calls as this goes off the air now. Thank you.